Hey, Drew.
Hey, Brad.
We usually have an opener or something funny to start off the show.
Yeah, normally a pretty good laugh.
Screw it. It's 2021. Let's just go.
Early, sometimes them football boosters will provide your family with a car or even house if you keep nice and quiet about it. They're gonna do what now?
Welcome to the place where if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying is a way of life.
Just keep it down home, cuz.
Where degenerate gamblers can congregate in peace.
Money, yeah. Money, yeah.
Where screaming at 20-year-old kids on TV is just another Saturday.
Every fiber in your bone, and you take it and you beat the piss out of them. I'm talking about beat the piss out of them. Let's go whip their ass. Let's go.
Where game days don't end until the Rainbow Warriors say so.
It hits the upright. Oh my God! It hits the left upright. It hits the left upright.
They are the bagmen that Danny Sheridan never found.
I went to him with a strong-ass offer.
And it all comes to you with a splash of bourbon on the side. Woo! This is the Friends of the Program podcast.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into the Friends of the Program podcast. I'm Brad. He's Drew as we welcome you into, I believe this is the first show of 2021, if I'm getting
I believe so.
Right.
We took a little time off.
We took some time off. We planned on dropping a show normal midweek last week, but then some craziness happened in the world.
Things
kind
happen.
of got distracted and thought that maybe there were more important things for people to focus on than us.
Like the families, holding everyone close.
Yeah, so we decided to hold off. Plus, turns out there's a national championship football game tomorrow, so we're going to drop this first thing Monday morning.
Yeah.
That way you can have that national championship preview to listen to, get you prime for the game.
Know where to put your money.
And a bunch of, money too. You got to make sure that's
money.
But and some other stuff to get done as well. Before we do, Drew, how have you been, man? How's the year treating you?
I mean, it was so far so good, and then December 37th popped up of 2020, and I've been glued to my TV like I was as a senior in high school.
Yeah.
When 9/11 happened, just slack jawed and can't believe what I'm seeing our own people do.
Yeah,
but without getting too political.
I was in a hospital waiting room when all this was going down.
Oh gosh! Actually, you and I were texting during all of it, and I didn't know what you were doing, but I was able to fill you in and have you send me a text of, no, that can't be happening. No, it is happening. I'm watching these things happen.
Yeah.
But other than that, which has kind of engulfed the last 3 or 4 days of my life, no, 2021's been great so far. Been able to talk to friends and reconnect with folks and spend time with at the house with my wife and our dog, and so far so good.
Well, Texas is broken because we're getting about 3 inches of snow here in Austin today, which is insane. So as we freeze over, let's just stick here in Austin for the first part of the show. Exactly. Talk about the University of Texas, where in the same damn day, and I don't think people have let this actually sink in, they fired Tom Herman and had Steve Sarkisian ready to go that afternoon.
Literally on the other side of the curtain at a pro wrestling show. You're fired. You're out of here. And here's our new member. What?
No search. No applications. Just no. We're good. You're gone. We got our guy.
They took Auburn's 2020 or 2003 playbook and said, "Here's how it should have been, Auburn. You should have been trotting out Bobby Petrino right after the game."
I mean, Steve Sarkisian just comes in with a damn chair. It's Herman in the back.
From out of nowhere, he wore the Shockmaster helmet and bashed him over the head and said, "Get out of my ring."
So anyway, we've been talking all year. Who gets fired first? You've been saying it was Harbaugh. I've been saying it was Herman. Yay, I win that one.
You win. You win.
Herman's gone. Harbaugh's getting an extension. Which Ohio State subtweet on that was just glorious this week.
That was fantastic.
Ohio State basically sent a tweet out celebrating the fact that Jim Harbaugh was getting an extension, if you didn't see that.
Which I would do. I don't blame him.
Yeah, it was pretty hilarious. But yeah, Tom Herman gone here in Texas after 4 years. Winning record, won a Sugar Bowl while here, but only beat Oklahoma once. Never got that Big 12 championship ring that has eluded Texas for quite a long time. I don't think people realize how long it has been since Texas has won the Big 12. If I remember correctly, I think it was the 05 Vince Young team. Or no, sorry, the 2009 Colt McCoy team is the last time they won the Big 12.
I think you're right. I'll double check that just to make sure while we're talking. But no, it's been a hot minute since Texas has even been in the Big 12 championship game.
No, they were in the game last year.
That's right. They were there last year, but
last year. And yes, 2009 was the last time Texas won the Big 12. And most people don't recognize Big 12 started in 1996. And we think of Texas as this monster brand in college football, which it is a monster brand. They've won the conference 3 times. Only 3 times since the formation in 1996. With a conference where for a while, yes, Nebraska was in here and you had to deal with A&M and of course Oklahoma's a power, but over the last 8 years, it's just you and Oklahoma for the most part. Baylor's had some good years here and there. TCU had like the one bouncing year. But the dominance level of Oklahoma in this conference, I think, is a little understated and understood around the country. You don't see football teams winning the conference 6 straight times. You just don't.
No.
And that's what's happening right now in the Big 12.
Yeah, because...
Why I think this move got made to get rid of Herman, because he wasn't getting results fast enough.
You're absolutely right. You're talking about a Texas school program that's 3-3 in the Big 12 championship game. Has won 96, 2005, and 2009. But since then, and don't forget, from 2011 to 2016, there was no. Championship game per se, but they definitely didn't win the conference in those years. So you're talking about, in my estimation, you're looking at Auburn's management with Alabama's fan base. And by that, I mean meddling boosters won't really let their coach do what he needs to do to get things done, but has the expectations of the Alabama fan pre-Nick Saban of, well, we should always be up for the national championship, not with Mike Shula, not with Charlie Strong, not with at least in my estimation from way outside looking at the snow globe.
So let me take you inside the snow globe a little bit, since I do live here and I've gotten to know some Texas people. Yes, there are expectations of where Texas, and I remember the game I went to one time, the guy next to me said, we could buy anything we want. We're Texas. We have the best stuff. Yeah. Okay. This is also a program that's only won 1 national title in the last 50 years now.
Yeah.
So 2005 was their title. Before that, 1970, I think, was their previous closest national title.
I think you're right.
So, and we did this exercise on this show. Earlier this year, where we talked about some of the teams that have won the same amount of national titles as Texas in the last 50 years. So I think this expectation of what they should be and what they really are 2 very different things.
Yes.
Do they have the facilities and the capabilities, and should they recruit better? Yeah. I mean, you're in Austin. Now, there are some who could say Austin doesn't necessarily sell itself to everybody, and I think that's legitimate. Not every kid wants to go to play in a big city. And Austin is not, 30 years ago, Austin was a town of 300,000-400,000 people. This is a town of sprawling, and you're talking several million people in the metro now. It's large, and it's still growing. Oracle's moving down here, their headquarters. Tesla's moving down this way. We're getting a $5 billion Apple campus built in this town. Like it's nuts how much stuff is changing here. So that's going to attract certain kids, like the kids who love to play in USC and want to play in LA and be the stars. That's going to attract certain kids. It's also going to turn other kids to a Texas A&M who want to be and that true college feel. Because you've been to Aggie Land with me.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother world compared to downtown Austin, Texas.
Yes.
And when and the campus here in Austin, it's right in downtown. It's just on the other side of the state.
Pretty. Very pretty.
It's very pretty, but it's a metropolitan campus.
Yes, it's more it's more like Vanderbilt than it is anything else.
Yeah, and to me, Vandy's even a little more secluded than UT is in a lot of ways. So I tend to think there's advantages and disadvantages to being here in Austin as far as recruiting goes. Now, the biggest problem UT has is they consistently get beat in Dallas for recruits by Oklahoma. And some of you may ask, well, why would a guy go to Oklahoma instead of play for their home state? Understand that Dallas, there's a reason they play that game in Dallas every year. It is exactly halfway between the two schools. It's about 3 hours from Norman and it's 3 hours from Austin. So you're not getting any closer by playing in Austin versus Oklahoma.
Yeah.
To home if you're a home state kid or whatever the case may be. Now you also have the other problem of Texas A&M being able to sell the fact that you can play in the SEC and stay home. That becomes a kicker. Plus, 30 years ago, UT didn't have to worry about Baylor being any decent. Kids actually kind of give Baylor a listen now.
Yep.
You know? Kids didn't think about TCU back in the day.
Yep.
These are all extra considerations. So as I say all this, and it's kind of a nebulous aspect to get to this, the expectations don't meet reality here. I understand why Texas fired Tom Herman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they upgraded with Steve Sarkisian.
I kind of agree. Now, I'm going to go with a yes and a no because on the blush, I completely agree with you. I don't think that was an upgrade at all. However, I do like what he's done so far in the with his assistant hires. He's making a lot of headway with a lot of Alabama guys. And while I normally don't like other SEC schools hiring Nick's assistants, I think it may work in this situation because Sarkisian, all he's got to worry about is get past Oklahoma for the most part. He's got to worry about Baylor and Oklahoma State and TCU and all that because, again, like we've chronicled on this show, TCU has owned Texas over the past.
They've won 6 of the last 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are things that he has to worry about on the blush, but he really doesn't have to worry about anything until Oklahoma. Iowa State's up and coming, but okay. Again, you're Texas. You should take care of that after you get the ball rolling, if you can get the ball rolling. So I really like some of his assistants hires, the offensive line coach coming over from Alabama, and a couple of other different ones. So while I'm going to agree on the blush with you, I'm going to say I need to see the sample size grow before I go yay or nay on the whole.
Well, and I think that recruiting is part of what happened here, why Herman got let go. Because if you look at the recruiting rankings here in Texas, 7 different positions, the top guy at 7 different positions this year is signing with Alabama.
Yep.
In the state of Texas.
Yep.
Cannot let that happen if you're the University of Texas.
Nope.
1 or 2, people be like, okay, well, that's understandable. It's
yeah, Alabama. Sure. They're Alabama. They're going to get some.
The top guy at 7 different positions is signing with Alabama. And then one of the best quarterbacks in the state is signing with Auburn.
Yep.
So, or has signed with Auburn.
Yeah, already done.
Yeah, I didn't see if they won yesterday. They played yesterday in the semifinals of the playoffs. But, I mean, this guy's won back-to-back state titles at the highest level of football in the state, and he's damn good. So the amount of recruits that are losing out of state had to play a factor to get Herman out. Now, the reason I say I don't know if Sarkisian is necessarily an upgrade, I like the fact that you have previous big-time experience at Sarkisian. You're getting a guy who's coached at Washington, brought them from the dregs. And I know people see the record at Washington and go, what did he really do? Remember how bad Tyrone Willingham left that program before Sarkisian got there.
Oh,
That was a team that was 1-11, 0-12.
12.
Bad football team.
Uh-huh.
And he brought them back to respectability. Took the USC job. Wasn't doing terribly, but then obviously had the alcohol issues and flamed out over there. His offense at Alabama has been stunning.
Yeah.
Just stunning. You can't say anything else.
No.
Can he replicate that? Yeah, there's enough skill in this state.
Yeah.
Skill players wise, there's absolutely enough skill player wise where he shouldn't have to leave the state of Texas to be able to recruit.
Nope.
And I've said this for years. If Houston could figure out a way to put up a border 25 miles around the city of Houston, 25 to 50 miles, and just keep a really good share of those players, you could put a very competitive college football team on the field.
Go straight Miami on it. Just make I don't know what county Houston's in, but the county, the state of whoever.
Yeah.
The state of Houston. And just go.
Yeah. If they could make that happen.
Absolutely.
A&M's only about an hour and a half from Houston, so you'd have to compete some there. And LSU theoretically isn't too far. Sure. But if you could figure out a way to put up a border around 50 miles around Houston and keep the best players in Houston, the Cougars would be a legitimate top 10, top 15 team every year. There's that much talent down in Southeast Texas.
Yeah.
So, and actually I think that's kind of one of Texas's biggest problems, the University of Texas. There's not as much football talent in Central Texas as there is in Southeast Texas and Dallas. You got a couple of powers around here. You got Westlake, you got Lake Travis, a couple other schools that tend to have a decent player or two. I think LBJ here in Austin had 2 players last year that were committed to play D1 ball. One of them was going to Bama to play corner. He was really good. Look, Westlake is the high school that's produced Drew Brees. They produced oh my God, who was
Stafford?
No, the quarterback from the Eagles that won the Super Bowl. That I can't think of all of a sudden.
Nick Foles?
Yeah, Nick Foles came out of Westlake High School here in Austin. Lake Travis has produced just tons and tons of players. So, and you got a few other schools. Georgetown produces pretty decent guys. Typically, get some mid-range, just different players. Some go to Louisiana Monroe. Occasionally, they'll get a D1 guy. But Emory Blake, played at Auburn. He came out of Austin High School, right in downtown. So there's some talent, but the majority of talent in this state is way down. It's down in Houston. It's up in Dallas. And that's what I think Texas struggles just a little bit, because even though you're staying home, well, hey, I'm going to stay home and play in my state. That's still 3.5 hours away, man.
Yep.
It's not close. And unless you live here, you don't understand how big this damn place is.
Yeah. No. I know every time I come out there, I'm just shocked at how, I mean, literally, whenever I come to visit you and your lovely wife, I have to get out of Google Maps just to say, okay, where are we going? What in the hell?
This is what I tell people. It takes me, if I want to go east back to Alabama for visit home, it takes me, it's a 12-hour drive. Nearly half of that drive is just getting to the damn border of Texas.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. It's unbelievable.
So I say that because you hear Texas, you think all these structural advantages in recruiting they should have. Just remember, if you're an Alabama guy, like at the University of Alabama, recruiting in Atlanta is closer for that kid to go to Alabama than it is for a kid in Dallas to come play in Austin.
That's insane.
It is, but that's what I'm talking about.
That's the math.
All right?
That's the map.
And there are moms and kids who just don't want to go that far from home.
Yeah. No, it's not wrong. It's where the U.S. history person in me goes. You know, the people that were that when Texas broke away from Mexico, we want the entire nation of Texas, and you really didn't do your recruiting for football any help wanting to have this massive state. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Electoral College folks are fun, but yeah, if you want the Longhorns to be good, you didn't do anyone any favors back in 18 whatever.
Well, but in all this, to get back to Steve Sarkisian.
Yes.
Okay. And again, I kind of rambled and went off on some stuff, but there's some structural things that I think people don't really understand about Austin that it's different than any other school. So you think, why couldn't Texas do more? There's some reasons. I think Steve Sarkisian has a chance to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Would I have fired Tom Herman, paid the buyout, and then paid $6 million to find out?
Which pause, at the end of the day, and I can't believe that no one's brought this up. At the end of the day, sure, Tom Herman's buyout was 14 or 16 million. At the end of the day, they're going to pay more money than Auburn did to get rid of the staffs, because Sark didn't hold anybody. So that, I want to say it was 34 mil to get rid of Herman and staff, and it was only 30 for Auburn to get rid of Gus, which was 21.5 and staff, and that's also including. And actually, it's going to be less because Harson's going to hold on to Cadillac. But so you're looking at about 29 for Auburn. So that's $5 million more for Texas than it was for Auburn. Where's the outrage?
Yeah, well, Texas
I know why. It's because Texas has money.
Yeah,
Auburn doesn't have money. I can't believe they're doing that.
So I will say it's interesting. There is a little bit of that here in Austin of what the hell are we doing?
Okay.
But remember, Austin's a much more liberal place than Auburn.
That's true.
Okay.
No, that is true.
Or really anywhere in the SEC.
Yeah.
Texas as a state, still a red state. Austin's bluer than my shirt.
Austin's deep blue as you can get.
Yeah. So there are people here who are like, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
But a lot of those same people are just like, well, we're happy with the new coach. So it's a weird ingrained thing. I think Sarkisian will be fine. I think he'll win games.
Yeah.
I think the jury is very much out on, is this a really good move, or is this just Texas trying to throw money at a problem again, as opposed to fixing the problem and really going and get who they can get? Because this should be a money is no object hire, and you go get who you want. So,
well, the other part is that I know Tom Herman really didn't he didn't fluff the boosters like they really want to, and I have a feeling that Sark. I'm interested to see which side Sark comes down on, because he seems like, at least in the coordinator role, a very no nonsense, let me get this job done, and he's coming from a coach that is very, I ain't fluffing nobody.
Yeah.
So, which Alabama fans just had to take a back seat and shut their mouth for 2 years that they didn't get fluffed, and then all of a sudden they felt okay about it.
Yeah.
So can Texas hold their tongue for 2, 3, 4 years? But if you don't turn in a national title and don't do any fluffing, we might be here right where we are in 4 years.
First problem, Texas needs to figure out how to win the Big 12 before they even think about a national title. They need to figure out how to win the Big 12.
Yeah.
All right. Other school, real quick on the coaching rumors that we want to talk about, also starts with a T, and it's in Tennessee, up in Knoxville, because there's word coming out of Knoxville that Jeremy Pruitt may not be long for the taking up there. There are a lot of reports out over the last few days of Tennessee potentially finding themselves in some NCAA trouble on the way. Maybe even Georgia is getting ensnared in that some as well. But Jeremy Pruitt, in the next few days, if you hear the news, he is no longer the head coach at the University of Tennessee. Don't be surprised.
Nope.
And think it's somewhat warranted. Yeah, this year was bad. This year was really bad.
Oh yeah.
Even after the way they finished the previous year, 2019, they really did finish off strong.
They did. But did they play anything with a pulse?
Yeah,
other than Indiana.
Good point. But Tennessee fell off a cliff this year.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of pent-up frustration on Rocky Top.
Mm-hmm.
This is a school that tries to measure itself against Alabama historically and has lost 13 in a row to the Crimson Tide.
Has not won since 2006.
Oh, we're getting a 15 in a row. So this kid's almost legally an adult.
Yep.
Okay.
That baby is old.
Ooh. So Tennessee potentially firing Pruitt. The fun part of this one are the names that are coming up. Because we're seeing Gus Malzahn being mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen Hugh Freeze's name pop up.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that I haven't seen pop up that I'm kind of surprised about is the one we just talked about, Tom Herman.
It would be the outside. I have not heard his name come up either for this job. The main names that I've heard from my Tennessee folks that are, and it's very interesting because I've heard Hugh Freeze, and the one that surprised me was Gus Malzahn, and I won't say willingness, but okay, all right, let's roll with Gus, which I think that would be a good way to go, to be quite honest, as far as a program builder, which I know you're going to kind of, what? But the one thing that Gus got let go at Auburn for was roster management, one, as things went on, but that he ran a clean ship. And there's your selling point. He ran a clean ship at Auburn. You're not, with everything going on at Tennessee right now, you can't bring in Hugh Freeze. You cannot bring in Hugh Freeze to this situation.
No.
It just can't. Even if Birmingham said, okay, fine, because I still think that Greg Sankey and the SEC office are knocking that down at any point, at any chance that they can get. It's why he wasn't Auburn's offensive coordinator 2 years ago, or either 2 years ago or last year. It's why Auburn didn't interview him this time when they were looking for a head coach. And it's going to be why Tennessee doesn't hire him now unless Philip Fulmer just goes double barrel to Birmingham, which he's done before.
Yeah, let's say it's Fulmer, man. I put nothing past him.
I put nothing past Philip Fulmer, but I don't know if the SEC office will do everything that they can to block it. So and while there's going to be no restriction, no pushback, no nothing on Gus coming in, the Tom Herman situation is interesting because I think that can also be really good for Tennessee.
I think,
and I don't hear anything about it.
Yeah, I think if I'm Philip Fulmer and I'm thinking about this, Herman has more upside than Gus.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's never been an inkling of Herman having a bad program as far as paying, getting people in trouble, so that'd be fine too.
Yep.
I think the interest for Tennessee with Gus is simply rooted in one thing. One thing only.
Go ahead and say it.
He's beaten Alabama.
There it is.
I don't think it has anything to do with winning championships.
No,
I think it's about he's actually beaten Alabama.
It is the fact that Nick Saban will not like the hire.
But you know who will? Kirby Smart.
Kirby Smart would love it.
Yeah. Dan Mullen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and who are you really competing with on a year-to-year basis? Exactly. I know you have Alabama on your schedule, but you need to beat the other two to get to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I think Herman's offense, a little more innovative. Well, actually, a lot more innovative. I think he's quite frankly, a little bit better of a coach, just from a roster management and what he can build. And if you're looking for a guy who can pull an upset, that's your guy.
Yeah.
Because I've said it here many times. Tom Herman, I don't like betting on him as a favorite, but if he's an underdog with a half decent football team, I'm taking that money line every time because you will be positive in your ROI over the long term taking that play.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I fully expect Pruitt to be gone within a week or so.
I'm actually shocked that he's still there now.
Well, and you know what's interesting too? Early signing day has changed the way coaching, hiring, and firing has happened a lot.
Yeah.
Because this is something that would just be unfathomable at this point. A few years ago, when you only had the one signing day, this close to signing day, there's no way this conversation's happening.
Nope.
But now that some guys are already signed, and most of the top prospects in the country have put their ink on paper.
Yep.
And then you have a transfer portal that you can work on too all year. There's a lot of things now that have changed where you're going to see more and more of these late hires and late firings as they come across.
Yeah, I'm actually, as we sit here, I wonder if Auburn had waited until after the bowl game to let go of Gus, what that would have looked like.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting what if. But I don't know.
All right, we'll move on to the last part of the show. We're going to spend the bulk of the time over here, which is the national championship game. That's happening hopefully tonight as you guys listen. There was talk of this game getting delayed for a bit because of potential COVID issues, but we are on to play football. We called it on this show, or at least I did, Ohio State over Clemson, and that game wasn't even close.
Nope.
Let's look back at that real fast in the Sugar Bowl where Ohio State, Clemson comes out, scores. Ohio State comes out, scores. Looks like it's just going to be back and forth. And they impose their will. Clemson's now 0-3 in New Orleans in the playoff and gotten blown out every time, if I remember correctly. The semifinals continue their trend of bad football. I think we've had 3 or 4 games of actually decent football in the semifinal over the years. But Ohio State, and I said it to you, that people forget how much talent is on that football team. And you saw what happened as it manifested itself finally. And Justin Fields is a man because after taking that shot to the ribs that he took in the first half and then still staying in, and not only staying in and playing, at one point after that shot to the ribs, he threw one 65 yards in the air and dropped it on a dime.
Without even thinking about it.
I thought the Buckeyes, obviously, I think it's their best game of the year, without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
But I thought that was one of the most impressive performances of any college football team this season.
I can't disagree with you. Brad, do you know how many total yards were gained in that game?
Overall?
Yeah.
Oh, it was well over 1,000 because the Buckeyes had almost 400 in the first half.
Yeah, it was 639 total to 444 to Clemson. Do you know how many passing yards Trevor Lawrence had out of that 444?
It wasn't much. They ran the ball decently, but he didn't throw much at all, like 180 or so?
No, it was 400.
Oh, wow. I must have
400 yards passing, which is why I'm going this route with you. Because
I just don't remember him hitting many deep shots, I guess. So.
He didn't.
There's a lot of yak.
Yeah, a lot of yards after catch.
That's right.
I'm trying to see if I can find the longest. Well, there you go. The longest pass for Trevor Lawrence was 29 yards, and he did that to Powell. But I bring this up. So 444 total, 400 passing. That means Ohio State held Clemson and Travis Etienne, who pretty good running back, wouldn't you say? He's okay. He's fine. Might play on Sundays, maybe. To 44 yards total for the game. In fact, just to make sure that I'm right, they held Travis Etienne to 32 yards.
Well, how many yards rushing did Lawrence have? Because they used him a lot in the run game. They tried to use him a lot in the run game.
10 attempts for -8 yards.
That was their problem.
That's an issue.
I thought that was one of the biggest problems is they overused that hand.
Yeah.
I thought they
He
tried.
did have one touchdown on those -8 yards, but still.
Yeah, they overplayed that hand. But wow.
So I bring this up as an interlude, if you will, to what needs to happen tonight for the Ohio State Buckeyes, because again, I don't know if you've heard of this guy, but Najee Harris is kind of a good running back. He's pretty good, not bad. He will be playing on Sundays. I pray that he makes it to the 34th selection or 35th selection of the draft, and my Atlanta Falcons take him in the second round.
We got a first-round pick.
And we do have a first-round pick, but I'm kind of hoping that the quarterback for the Ohio State Buckeyes is still on the board somehow, some way, because I need somebody to take over for Matt Ryan after next year, or the following year, whatever. So I was just wowed by the Ohio State defense as a whole. Like, yeah, you're going to give up 400 yards of offense to Clemson. They're only the number 2 team in the country. They only have some of the top talent in the country. They only have probably the best quarterback we've seen in a while, since last year with Joe Burrow. But Trevor Lawrence is a prodigy. You're just going to have to limit him. And to give him his second loss in that stadium and as a starter was just, I mean, it was like watching a symphony. Just perfect calls, plays being made. I was just wild.
Well, here's the thing I think Ohio State has a problem with, that they try to run a similar plan of stopping Najee Harris. Bama's got more playmakers.
Absolutely.
Clemson's good. Their wide receivers are not what they have been in the past, and they are not on par with what Bama has.
No.
Because while you have a Travis Etienne at Clemson, who could be comparable to a Najee, and I think Najee's better, Clemson does not have a Devonta Smith.
Nope.
So, and Bama's got other receivers on top of that they can play with. And there are going to be some who think this is sacrilege. I'm not sure that Bama doesn't have the better quarterback than Clemson. Natural talent, maybe Travis Etienne. Not Etienne. My apologies. Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. The only thing that would give me the nod over Lawrence, the nod to Lawrence over Mac, is the fact that I can trust him with his legs a little bit more.
You tell me who's playing better football right now.
I agree.
Not just now. All year, who's played better football?
All year. No, I can't remember how the Heisman voting went. Who was second? I think it was Lawrence second. But I agree with you. Right now for the season, and you know of my not affections, but my just my thought process behind Mac Jones. When people would say, "Oh wow, he's improved so much," no, he hasn't. He hasn't improved anything. This is what he was. He's just getting the chance to show you.
Yeah.
He'll improve after he gets to the NFL. If there are any improvements, tightening, whatever you want to do. As far as, wow, he's really carrying out his fakes really well. Please. You're just looking for the intro for your ESPN segment. No, he hasn't improved at all. This is the Mac Jones he was when he played Auburn a couple of last year and made one bad throw. Because he didn't make two. Oh, yeah, he threw 2 pick sixes. The other one hit Najee in the back because he was pressured. And he threw it out there to Najee, hit him right in the top of the numbers. It bounced off of there, and then that was a pick six. The other one was a high throw that was a bad throw.
It got away from him, yep.
It got away from him. It happens. It's a 3rd and 8, 9?
Yeah.
And the Jordan-Hare Stadium crowd's going insane. Oh, well, I give him a pass. But no, I absolutely I think you're right. I think he is the better playing quarterback this season than Trevor Lawrence.
If I had to have one of the two under center right now, I want Mac Jones before I want Trevor Lawrence. There are people who think I'm crazy. If I'm an NFL GM, I might look at this differently, and I'm thinking, okay, probably Trevor Lawrence for upside.
I'm thinking down the road at that point. I'm talking about one game on Monday
right
night.
Now?
Yeah.
Give me Mac Jones.
Yeah.
However, all this being said,
Sure.
Plus 250 on the line for a money line is far too tempting to not take Ohio State, because I said it the other day in our last episode, and I'll say it again. I thought Ohio State was the better team matchup-wise, talent-wise, from a talent perspective than Clemson was. If Bama played Clemson, that's going to look like LSU Clemson last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you saw that with Ohio State too, just now. Talent-wise, Ohio State matches up man for man better with Alabama.
Yep.
Now, does that mean Alabama's not going to win? There's a reason they're 8.5-point favorite. And they deserve to be. They absolutely deserve to be.
Oh, yeah.
But I also watched Notre Dame slow Bama down some. Like, it wasn't... Notre Dame's game plan was to try to slow that game to a halt.
Mm-hmm.
In the Rose Bowl played in Dallas, which was just weird.
It was awkward.
Their game plan was very much, let's just try to limit possessions. And we tweeted it out there during the game. You cannot beat Alabama like that.
No. Because
they will stop you more than you're going to stop them, even if you limit possessions. It's just, that's going to happen.
It's just going to happen that way.
You got to beat them in the shootout. You have to. But I think Ohio State could do that.
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. Justin Fields under center has just been outstanding, in that the semifinal game was just the culmination for him. The other thing that I think people are forgetting about is that, Trey Sermon's going to be in the game. He's going to be the running back. Don't forget, Master Teague is probably going to be back for this game. And between the two of them, you're talking about over 1,200 yards, 1,300 yards on the season. Both are getting over 5 yards a carry every time they touch the ball, accounting for 10 touchdowns just on the running game.
Bama's D-line is not good.
No. That's the thing I think people forget about it. They see the number on the helmet in crimson and white, and they think, it's going to have a great defense no matter what. Like, nobody's been close to them. Yeah, because they've been putting up 52-24 scores. Go back to that Ole Miss game.
That's what I was about to say. Ole Miss ran the ball all over them. They didn't necessarily throw it all over the place.
No.
They ran the ball down Alabama's throat.
But, okay, so let me do that. Let's just say they get to that 200 yards in the first half. Let's just say Ohio State can run at will. What's that going to do? The secondary is going to start to pull up, and then you're going to hit Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave over the top. I completely see a world where Ohio State wins this game. Yeah. I completely see it. Because you're talking about guys that are, again, let me do this for you, talking about averages. Garrett Wilson, who's the leading receiver by 13 yards for Ohio State, 16.8 yards per catch and 40 receptions. Chris Olave, 660 yards on the season, 15.7 yards per catch. Longs for both of them, respectively, 65 and 56.
You mentioned that Ole Miss game. I just went and pulled it up.
Sure.
They ran for 268 yards that night against the Bama D.
You
on
tell
57 carries.
You tell me that Trey Sermon and Master Teague can't run, can't get there.
And here was your play selection that night, by the way. They ran Ole Miss, let me do the math here, 86 plays. 57 of them were on the ground. So that tells you where they saw the weakness on Alabama. And it wasn't through the air. They hit Bama for some big, long shots. They threw for 350, 360 yards that night.
Well, that's what you do.
But it's because exactly what you said. They started pulling up the defense, had to come up and help in the run game.
As an offensive coordinator, which Ryan Day is, I know he's seen this.
Oh,
I know he has. I see this being an immensely close game.
I will tell
this one.
I will tell you now, the over is not high enough. It's 75. I don't think the over is high enough.
Doing. I know exactly where I'm going.
This game screams 42, 35, 49, 42, something like that.
You can even see it 54, 51.
Wouldn't shock me.
Would not blow me over.
But this game, the over is not enough points.
No.
I love the way Ohio State matches up. I think physically they match up well with Alabama. I think they're going to try to run the ball right down their throat. And don't forget, they ran the ball down Clemson's throat too, because they were ripping off 6, 7, 8 yards a carry like it was nothing in that football game.
No. You're talking about a game where Ohio State was able to rush the ball for 254 yards. They can do that against Alabama on tonight.
Yeah.
Who's to say?
Yeah. So we'll get into prediction time now because wrapping up the show. National title game, 8.5 points is the line, is what I have. At least you showed 9 on another site.
Hold on, we'll just put this up here as a.
Oh yeah, Drew's got his whistle pig that I had to go buy him for winning.
We'll put this up here. So heavy, it's so good. Once it hits your lips, it's so good.
No. I'm glad you're heavy. My wallet's a lot lighter.
It's just to help you carry,
Where are you going with your pick?
You've swayed me. I mean, you really have. I absolutely love, and this is the question for me, really, with this game is, can Ohio State shut out the rat poison and the backslapping and my gosh, you guys played an excellent game. I have a feeling that Kristen Saban might have helped. The Buckeyes.
That tweet was pretty amazing. If you didn't see this, folks, Kristen Saban, once the Buckeyes were, for a minute, it was looking like they might postpone this game due to COVID issues.
Back a week.
It basically called them chicken.
Yeah. Yes, she did. That is exactly what she said.
Just amazing.
Which was quickly removed from the tweeters.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure Daddy called and said, "What in the F are you doing?"
Can you imagine if they lose this game, how the Bama fan base is going to react to Kristen Saban?
Oh. If you thought this past week was a bad week on Twitter, just you wait, my friend, for Tuesday morning in Alabama's trending.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my goodness.
You're going to hate her.
Oh, my. So, but you've absolutely swayed me. I love the way that Justin Fields played after he took that kidney shot, where I hope that his urinary tract is clean now, because that there was going to be a lot of blood coming out of that.
I would not be waking up from that.
Oh, God. But I love the fact that Trey Sermon is going to be playing. I love the fact that we might see Master Teague as a spellback even for Trey. Chris Olave being in the lineup made that team look unbelievably different from the Northwestern game on to the Clemson game. I think it's going to be a 54-51 game. I know in my picks I'm going to take Ohio State on the money line and the over. So I'm gonna pick it. I'm gonna go Ohio State.
Yeah, and folks, this is not because we're Auburn guys or anything that I'm picking against Bama. Because all year we've been telling you we think Bama's been the best team, top to bottom, all year long.
No, I still think that this is the best Bama offense we've ever seen, period, bar none.
I think the stats bear that out.
Yeah. If you give me Bama's defense from almost any other of their national championship playing teams, I'm going to take Bama. I just don't think that this defense is good enough to stop and again, this is me estimating that Ohio State's hitting on all cylinders. But I'm going to think that they hit on all cylinders.
I don't think you saw, my catch is here, I don't think you saw Ohio State's best game.
Ooh.
Because remember, that's the first time that whole team has played together.
It's true.
It was the Clemson game.
It's true.
And now they got one underneath their belts. They're going into this game with literally no pressure. Yeah. I mean, all the pressure's on Alabama, as it usually is. But Ohio State's a 9-point underdog. They can freewheel. If they lose, nobody's going to say a thing. Okay, you lost Alabama, whatever the case.
It's what happens.
I'm with you. It's, for me, I keep thinking about Bama's struggles defending the run. Because they struggled a little bit against Notre Dame as that game wore on in the run game as well.
After Notre Dame started to wear them down just a little bit.
Yeah.
Ended up costing me money.
Yeah, you and me both. I just think because of that, and because I think Ohio State is the only team in the country that matches up talent-wise, man-to-man, with Alabama. The one thing we haven't seen from this Alabama team is what happens if they get down 2 scores? Because we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. That Ole Miss game went back and forth, and they got down a touchdown, I think, once or twice.
6 points, something like that.
Yeah, but they've never been down 10, 14 this season. What happens? What is their mindset? What do they do? And how do they react? Do they start pressing? Does Mac Jones start making throws he usually doesn't make? Does Sarkisian start calling the game a little bit differently? I think this is a shootout. This is first one to 45 or 50 probably wins. Excuse me. But I think plus 250 on the money line is far too generous to pass up from a gambling perspective.
Yeah.
There's no way I would bet anything else other than if I lost, fine. But that's
whatever.
The value is there to play that bet. It's like we said at the beginning of the playoff. The value in the playoff bet was plus 900 on Ohio State.
Yeah.
With the whole thing.
Now, one thing I do want to throw to you before you make your final selection. Do you think Jalen Waddle makes any difference in this game?
Is it official he's playing?
The word coming out is that he will be available to play.
Obviously, it changes how you defend because Waddle's a whole nother animal. Question is, does Waddle trust his knee well enough to go?
And how long or how much can he go?
Well, and I know it's a national title game, right? But Jalen Waddle's coming off an injury. And if I were him, and this is selfish me, I get it. Why would I focus here versus focusing on getting ready for the draft and the combine and making sure I was 100% healthy? Because he's got a lot of money sitting on the table. And this game isn't going to change that for him.
Nope.
But one wrong move, if he's trying to come back just a little bit too early, could cost him everything.
Yep.
And I know there are people out there who's like, well, you play for the team that you're on and you play for the glory. You tell me that when you've got $10 million sitting in front of you. What decision you would make. I'm so sick of that damn argument from people. Well, they shouldn't sit out bowl games. They're quitting. If everybody's healthy and you've been playing all season and you get to a national title, sure, I get it. Play.
Yeah.
Go. Okay. Jalen Waddle hasn't played since the beginning of the year because of an injury. And now you're asking him to come back maybe a little bit too early for a title game, but potentially cost him millions and millions of dollars. When people say, well, it never really happens anyway. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it do.
Yeah, it does. Just think back a couple of years to the kid from Notre Dame that ripped up his knee in the Fiesta Bowl where they had nothing to play for other than it was the Fiesta Bowl. And it cost him from being a top 2 or top 3 pick all the way down to the second round. And if you're like, well, he still got drafted in the second round. Understand the difference between the top 3 in the draft and 34th in the draft is about $20 million.
Yep.
Now, let me put a stack of $20 million in front of you and then tell me you would make the same decision. Yeah. I'm going to go out there and play for the game and the team.
And I love the game.
I would do a lot of filthy things for $20 million that are probably illegal and probably only allowed in Tijuana. But that's a whole nother animal.
Have you seen it's called a donkey, but anyways.
Yeah, I wear. I bought tequila. I'm good. I got enough. I'll make it through. I'll make it through for 20 mil. So I just, if Waddle comes back, yes, it changes the calculus as far as how Ohio State defends him. I also think about timing, like the timing with Mac Jones. He hasn't played in several months. Like, how's their timing work? Just all that aspects. Either way, it doesn't change my opinion of
the value.
The value on the bet, but just a straight up pick of who I think's going to win the football game. It doesn't change the fact that I think the running game for Ohio State's the difference here.
I think so too. I absolutely think you're correct. I think we've spelled out our argument, even without, we behind the curtain, we try not to talk about things pre-game or pre-show.
No, we never do.
just so we can see if we can sway each other. And I think we've both made the same argument coming in and shown it here. I absolutely agree.
Well, there you are. We're both on the upset. We both take Ohio State. I promise you guys, it's not because we're Auburn guys. I promise you.
Not at all.
We've picked Alabama all damn year. I haven't picked them to lose once this year. There's a reason for that.
I made money on the Iron Bowl.
Yeah, I try to look at this from a perspective of what do I think is actually going to happen based on the football field. I'm wrong a lot. Occasionally I get one right. Same with Drew. But we'll see. It's going to be a fun one. I do think this is going to be the most fun national title game since, and a lot of people say, well, the Georgia-Bama game was great because it went to overtime. From a fun perspective, that 35-34 game against Clemson a few years ago that ended on like the 1 yard line, that was a fun football game to watch. Because a lot of that Georgia-Bama game kind of dragged.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be a game that's just going to be flat out, get some popcorn or whatever and enjoy the hell out of it because it's going to be a blast to watch.
No, this is a game where this is one of those years where I'm really mad that this game's on a Monday night because I want to sit down and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I really can't because I'm not taking a Tuesday off of work to watch Alabama and Ohio State play football.
No.
I will be watching the second half at work during lunch because
oh yeah, I forgot you have to be up really early for work. I
have to be up early. I'm a 5:45 wake up call. Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah, I'll be up watching it, so I'll be the guy out there tweeting on our stuff for us guys. All right, we appreciate you guys all season long sticking with us for college football. We'll be back in just a few days. We'll do the normal midweek drop for a show. We'll recap the game. We'll actually start talking about little college basketball as well. Some things are going on. Kentucky, man. Arkansas. Now, yeah, there's some play. Well, Arkansas is blowing my mind with what they're doing.
Arkansas, they're thinking real good.
And Iowa, ridiculous. I still don't think anybody's going to touch Gonzaga though, with the way that they're playing hoops. So we'll talk a little bit of hoops in the next few days, and then start looking ahead towards spring ball. We'll also look at recruiting coming up. See kind of who's left on the big board. Like we said earlier, about 80% of the biggest players have already signed, but there's targets out there. There's also a lot of movement in their portal, the transfer portal that's happening. Big players, good players going to different schools around the country. So tons to talk about. We'll continue on. And then, of course, once baseball season hits, we'll really get into college baseball. Drew is, if you don't really know, we both love college baseball, but Drew is like, he gets real deep into it.
I get real nerdy on college baseball. In fact, I'm now about to begin this is my break, and then in about 2-3 weeks begins my real nerdy time.
I thought I'd make you jealous though, because I actually do have a vote in a college baseball poll this year. It's kind of fun.
You do, and that makes me very jealous.
It's for Division II. It's not for Division I or anything, but it's
just remember Valdosta State, 1980 national champions. Don't forget that.
Whenever you play for a national title multiple times.
Yes, you have.
Because it was in Montgomery, Alabama for years, the Division II national championship. I could literally walk to the stadium from the house I grew up in. So every year, the Division II World Series, I would go watch it every year until they decided to move it to, I think they're in Raleigh, North Carolina or something like that now.
Cary, North Carolina.
There you go. So, all right. That'll wrap up this week's show. We appreciate you guys joining us. Enjoy the national title game. Follow us on Twitter at FOT Podcast. We'll be tweeting throughout the game. Always follow us online as well via social media at FOT Podcast. Search for us on your favorite platform, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever the case may be. Just search Friends of the Program. Subscribe, rate, like, all that kind of stuff. Share us.
All our accounts are active.
Yeah.
They are active.
We have not been banned from the internet yet.
Not been banned from the internet yet.
And of course, you can follow us on YouTube as well if you want to see our mugs, which that's a choice for you that I don't quite understand why you would do that, but you can
that's your call.
That choice.
Whatever you do on your weird days.
I mean, I guess if you have weird fantasies that I don't need to know about, or if you're just looking for stuff to make you go longer in your head.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, that'll wrap it up. We appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon. Take care.